What up, Pete Box?
What is going on?
Man, I thought the game was 7 o'clock tonight. It's one of those 8:40 things.
Yeah, we got to let the Knicks and the Sixers start us off tonight. That's going to be. I know you guys were talking about it before the break. That's going to be a heck of a series as well.
Mm-hmm.
I think you probably saw the Wild time. They're 7 o'clock tomorrow night.
Yeah, I know.
For game 2.
I know.
Yeah, we're the late one.
Yeah. With the Wolves and the Spurs.
Yeah.
What the heck does one do with Wemby? Let's just start there.
Oh man, what can you do, right? What can you do? I do think, and we'll talk Wemby obviously, but my X factor for this series is Naz Reid. And the reason why my X factor is Naz Reid is because, yes, Rudy is going to continue to battle Wemby down low. He's going to fight him for offensive rebounds at about 4 a game, 7.5 on the defensive side of the ball for Rudy. So it's going to be a physical one with Victor Wembanyama. But when Rudy's out and Naz Reid comes in the game to play that 5 big man, small ball type of lineup, what are the Spurs and Mitch Johnson going to counter with? Are they going to keep Wemby out there? Are they going to allow Wemby to guard Naz? And I think that's something they will do. So I think Naz is the X factor because he can stretch the floor. He can play in the corner. He can bring Wemby out of the paint a little bit. Because when you watch San Antonio's defense, they literally funnel everything to Wemby. They funnel everything into the paint, and Wemby is such a unicorn down there shot blocking that he basically, he beats everything up around the rim. So if you're Naz Reid, this series is big because you have to not only stretch the floor, but you have to prove to Wemby that you're confident in shooting the 3 ball right now. So he'll pull out of the paint, and that allows some of those drives to open up.
Elite take, because I'm envisioning it.
Mm-hmm.
Naz off the dribble, if he's isolated with Wemby.
Yes.
Okay, he's going to beat him. Now, Wemby has 13 blocked shots the last 2 games. That's a problem.
Yeah.
Because he gets beat and he recovers from 8 feet away and his arms are so long he still blocks him.
Yes.
But compared to the last series, I love the road you're going down. Klingon can hit threes, but he's not Naz Reid. Robert Williams,
no.
And neither one of them can beat anybody off the dribble. Naz can.
Exactly.
I see what you're saying here.
Yeah, and the other thing too with that PA is you look at this Wolves team last series. They were first in the playoffs at 57 points in the paint, first in the playoffs at 40 points off the drive per game, and first in the playoff at 51% of their offense was done in the paint. So where did they take advantage of this Denver team? In the paint. Where does Victor Wembanyama stand in this series? In the paint. Really? How can you bring him outside of the paint and allow your offense to move and find ways to continue to get to the rim, to continue to get guys in foul trouble and execute at the line?
Do you envision at any point of this series, and I brought this up to Finch, and he understood what I was saying, but I don't think he wanted to say, without DiVincenzo, we don't have like a super physical guard who can. Here's the point. Do we put littles on Wemby? Because at times, as you would know, bigs get bugged by the littles down by their knees, swatting and agitating. And I bring it up because Portland went long stretches with Drew Holiday. Right on Wemby, one-on-one, saying, come on, man, I know you're taller than me, but go ahead. And he gave him problems. So I posed it to Finch, and he was like, you have to have a big, strong, high-end, on-ball defender to do that. And I'm just not sure we have that.
Yeah, and I
Jalen Clark.
And I agree with that Finch point. I think Jalen Clark's a great name to bring up. But I think you're exactly right, PA, because Wemby's not a prototypical big. This Spurs team, they run pin down type of actions for their 5 in Victor Wembanyama. So if you're Rudy Gobert, you don't ever guard pin down situations. So you're never really put in that position where you know how to defend it. Who guards pin down situations? Jalen Clark, bigger guards. So I like the point of finding ways to offensively to really mix things up, because I don't think there's a formula for it. I don't think there's one recipe where you're like, this is how we stop Victor Wembanyama. He's too good for that. So I think you have to continue to throw different things at him. And I think game 1 is going to be, a great look into what they're going to do defensively and how they're going to mix it up.
Is this similar to the Nuggets series in the regard? Well, frankly, maybe this is just NBA in general, but it's like Joker's going to get his.
Yeah.
So it's the other guys. Wemby's going to get his, and it's going to be weird and frustrating, and he's a unicorn and the whole thing. So while and he dominates conversations as he should, but I'm kind of thinking about Castle. I'm thinking about I'm thinking about these second and third options that will present themselves the way that Spencer Jones emerges from obscurity to help them win a game with Denver. I'm thinking about who those other guys are at the same time. I assume Finch is as well.
Yeah, certainly. And Mitch Johnson has done a great job throughout, that Wemby's young career here and in the playoffs at, really playing him when they need him to play. Only 28 minutes per game, in the postseason so far. So it's not a number like De'Aaron Fox is at 35, Stephon Castle, 33.
De'Aaron Fox is balling.
Yeah, we're going to talk about him for sure. But Devin Vassell at 34. So it's like they're not abusing Wemby's minutes. So when Wemby isn't out there, what are you doing? What are you taking advantage of on the defensive side of the ball? What does your roster look like when Wemby's not in the game? Because to be honest with you, Nordo, I love this triple big lineup. I love the Nas and Julius and Rudy out there together. If you get those three,
Jaden?
Well, Jaden would be the 2 in that situation.
Oh, geez.
So I think if you get
that's a tall group.
It's a very tall group, but it's a group that knows how to play together, and it's a really experienced group. And I think if you're playing that group with Victor Wembanyama on the bench, you have some advantages size-wise on the offensive side of the ball. So I like what you say about, Wemby's going to get his, but Wemby's not going to be like a 40-point scorer. Now he's going to, surprise us and go get 40 tonight because I say that. But nonetheless, I think you're right, Nordo. I think you have to find ways to play to your advantage, and this thing has to be low scoring. The Wolves have to defend, and they have to be physical on the perimeter, because San Antonio's got 5 or 6 really elite skilled guards, and they're all fast. They all can shoot it. Yeah, and they all can shoot it, and they all can facilitate for others. Stephon Castle, you're going to watch him tonight. He's one of the best facilitators that I've seen from just the youth and the way that he's able to probe defenses.
Physical
and
was Blake, too.
Oh, my goodness, so strong. And then you mix that with a De'Aaron Fox, where it's just speed. They got a really good thing going with their 1 and 2.
You put that suggested big lineup out there.
Yeah.
And I'm Mitch Johnson for the Spurs.
Yeah.
And I got Pop sitting behind me as team president. And I got Minnesotan Sean Sweeney as my assistant head coach. Played basketball with Joe Mauer at Cretin-Durham Hall.
Wow, there's
graduated from he was the Jason Kidd's assistant head coach, went for the Suns job, got beat.
Wow.
I don't know why he got beat either. Ended up on this staff as the assistant head coach. Sean Sweeney, man, he's the bomb. I met him before. You put that lineup out there, and then I immediately put any combo of Fox, Castle, Vassell, and Harper.
Yeah.
And I pull Finch out of it. Know what I mean?
I agree. That's the exact way to pull them out of it, because you're going to use your speed. You're going to use that guard physicality is something that I think is very underrated from this team. Fox, Castle, Vassell, Harper, even Champagnie, a little bit of Keldon Johnson is about as big as strong as they come off the bench, 6th man of the year. So
he's a beef eater.
Oh my goodness. This is a team that they can throw so many different things at you offensively, and you just have to find a way to just stand tall, because this game, it can't be a 120, 130 type of game. This thing's got to be in the low 100s, because look at San Antonio, right? They're number 3 in defensive rating, number 3 in offensive rating, and number 1 in defensive rebounding percentage. Like, this is a team defensively that's as elite as they come in the NBA. So if you're going to allow them to score 120, how are you going to also score 120? It's got to be one of those low type of grinded out type of games all series long.
He's playing fast right now.
For a guy that blocks as much as he does, how does Wemby stay out of foul trouble? Like, and just looking it up again, this is surface level. You're so much more deep into this than I am, but I'm looking this thing up. I'm like, he only gets like 2 fouls a game.
Yeah.
Like, for a guy that has that presence and dominates, I mean, you mentioned only 28 minutes. So we're talking max productivity every freaking second that this guy's on the court, but he's never in foul trouble. Like, just smart positioning, like, whole thing with Wemby that we're up against.
But you answered your own question early in the show when you said the officials purposely don't call fouls on him because of TV ratings and advertising, and everybody wants to see Wemby in the NBA Finals.
And the draft is rigged.
Yeah, right. The ping pong ball bit's rigged.
I love that one.
That's really, I didn't realize that. I mean, Wemby, as aggressive as he is, swatting shots left and right.
Yeah.
Like 2 fouls, 3 fouls a game. Are you kidding me?
Yeah, I mean, it is absurd, but watch this series and just watch the skill that he has with shot blocking. So one thing that I always learned, and I was a pretty good shot shot blocker in my own right. So I was always the second one to jump, right? If you're the first one to jump, any type of skilled guard is going to jump into you. They're going to draw fouls. It's way too easy. When you're 7'4" and you have an 8 foot or 8'1", whatever his wingspan is, whatever they say it is, at least 8 feet, not only can you afford to be the second one to jump, but you can afford to be late to jumping because your arms just go for forever. So I think that's the answer, Nordo. Yes, there's probably more fouls, and yes, there's some of that, inside the NBA type of drama that comes with Victor Wembanyama being the unicorn, but he's 7'4". He's got an 8 foot wingspan, and he's elite at driving. I mean, he's elite at blocking secondary drivers. He doesn't block his own guy very often, but his help side and his knowledge and his IQ to recover in different type of situations on ball screens, on DHOs, on pin downs, and the ability to be the second one to jump and go block shots above the rim.
What's a DHO?
Dribble handoff.
Thank you.
Dribble handoff action. So the Wolves do a lot of stuff with Rudy Gobert at the top of the key where they throw the ball to Rudy, and he basically sets a screen while handing the ball up. So what does Victor Wembanyama do? Well, Rudy's not going to shoot the three. He's not going to pick and pop. He's going to roll the rim. So Victor Wembanyama is playing what we call a drop coverage in the middle of the paint, and he's allowing that ball handler. He's saying, "Go ahead, go to the rim because I'm going to go block it if you do,
That's
and
great.
I know you're not going to kick it back to Rudy." So he's basically playing center field Byron Buxton-X, and he's going to blocking shots at the rim.
Terrence Shannon Jr.
Needs to be huge, man. Needs to be huge.
Do we look at it like this?
Mm-hmm.
Just unleash the beast. Look the other way with his court awareness and defense or lack thereof.
Yes.
And let him do his thing.
Yeah, I think there's a little mix of that, right? I was talking about that DHO dribble handoff action at the top of the key. Now, there's a guy in Terrence Shannon Jr. We've seen his athleticism towards the rim. If there's a way to get past Wemby, it's that sneaky 1 foot dunk where you're not laying the ball up there and letting the 8 foot wingspan go block it. You're sneaking him. You're getting a quick one on him. So I think that's the guy on this Wolves roster that needs to be elite towards the rim. Defensively, I think he needs to be really good too. He's going to have a tough matchup defensively, whether that's De'Aaron Fox, Stephon Castle, Dylan Harper off the bench. There's a lot of guys that they can throw at this Wolves defense. And Terrence Shannon, Chris Finch called him out, and I think he responded really well in that game 6 with some of his defensive intensity. And this is a guy that's capable. I think just his lateral quickness, his vertical quickness, the ability to get up and down the floor. Like, this is a guy in Terrence Shannon Jr. where regardless of what's going on with Ayo Dosunmu, if he plays 20, 30 minutes, like TSJ is going to have to play a lot of minutes too, and he has to be really good on both ends of the ball.
So Edwards and Ayo,
yes,
both are listed as questionable. I mean, for tonight, I can't see Anthony playing tonight. Can you?
I don't. But if there's a guy that would do it, it is Ant, right? Like, we've seen him recover for some of these injuries. We've seen him come back, but I doubt we see him in San Antonio. But I think there's people that are kind of excited about the fact that they can maybe see him back here at Target Center game 3 or 4.
One of the Spurs assistants is Corliss Williamson, who was with us until this season. Any secrets he can share to help old Mitch Johnson and his team, or is that an overrated bit?
I wouldn't say it's an overrated bit. I would say that, when it comes to an offensive scheme, I want to continue to see more from Finchy. I think this is a series where he's allowed to open up his playbook a little bit because of what Wemby can do defensively around the paint. I mentioned the fact that the Wolves were the best in the playoffs so far at scoring in the paint. So where are they going to go when that gets eaten up by Wemby? Well, it's the mid-range. And I think that's something where if you're San Antonio, you're used to forcing guys off the three and making them dribble and finish inside the paint against Wemby. How can you execute in that mid-range? I think that's something where we've seen from Jaden McDaniels really take a step in his career. And if we get Anthony Edwards back, he's also taken a step in that right too.
Mm-hmm.
The host asked the coach this, and I'd like your opinion on it as well, because just looking at their matchups during the season, teams can change and there's evolution. I get it. Playoffs are not regular season, but taking something, okay, we got to see Wemby earlier this year. I think early in the season, he wasn't playing for a game. Maybe it was a calf. And so he wasn't in the mix. Can you take something from within that week period in January when we saw the Spurs twice? I think we split. To PA's point, low-scoring game we won, higher-scoring game we lost. Can you take elements of that and say, I know what worked back in January or didn't work. Maybe we're going to implement or not implement certain things in this series?
Yeah, and I'm going to answer that question, but I just got a notification. Minnesota's Anthony Edwards is a significant participant in Timberwolves shoot-around this morning and wants to return for Game 1 against the San Antonio Spurs. That's from Shams. So
it was from Shams?
It was from Shams.
Say the whole thing again.
Yeah, Minnesota's Anthony Edwards was a significant participant in Timberwolves shoot-around this morning, and he wants to return to Game 1.
Uh-oh. So, well, I mean, we need the context on significant.
Yeah, we do. We do need the context.
Could be actually taking part in it 5-on-5. Mm-hmm. That would be significant, given he's just been there shooting and stuff.
Yep.
Damn, man, he had a 55-point game against the Spurs earlier this year.
Yeah, he goes on to say Edwards is pushing to play, and but he and the team's medical staff will make a decision later today. So
Finch has no say in the call.
No, that's the medical staff.
Yeah, as he pointed out to me earlier.
Yeah, that's the medical staff. But to answer your question, Nardo, I think that's exactly right. Like you have to look at this, year as a whole, right? You have to look at the ups and downs of this Timberwolves team, and you have to find where were we great? Where did we do things really well? Well, one thing we did really well is when we were able to get out in transition. And I think when you look at a defense that's anchored by a center that can block shots, that's usually a half-court defense. That's not really done in transition a whole bunch. So I think that's where the Wolves have to be better is that transition offense, but also transition defense. That's something where in the Denver series, I think it was Game 4 in specific, we were so bad in transition defense. We lost 23-13 in the transition game. And Finch, I remember Finch pulling Bones Highland after he took a 3-point shot and didn't get back on defense. That's unacceptable. You can't have those leak out for cheap ones because you got to keep this thing to a grinded out type of 190s type of game.
All right, back to basketball in a second.
It's time to drop the puck.
Let's go.
Taylor feeling good about the Frost after Saturday. They beat Montreal in OT.
Yeah, really fun game. 4-4 at the end of regulation. So a lot of scoring, a lot of physical play. And then they had a defender that scored her first goal of the year from the point, kind of one of those fadeaway type of, Quinn Hughes, let it rip on net and find the back of the net. And, we're able to celebrate and get the 5-4 win. So, cool deal in the PWHL where the top team in the league, who was Montreal, they get to pick who they want to play, the 3 or the 4. And they chose Minnesota, and Minnesota went in there and stole Game 1. So,
but how do you pick the back-to-back champ?
Well, they beat them 4 times in the regular season.
Great. They're
4-0 in the regular season, and I think they won 7-0 in the last 2 games combined. So I think maybe they thought
Taylor cared.
Yeah,
Taylor regular seasons for show, and postseasons for dough.
Oh, that's right, baby.
Same with Zumwinkle, who scored.
Exactly.
Scored Saturday.
Well, she had one of those sweet little turnaround type of just wristers, back of the net. I love those.
This goalie for Montreal.
Yeah.
They smacked the Montreal goalie, who was the stingiest goalie in the game, with that 1.11 goals against average.
Yeah.
Everybody probably feels great about that, right?
Yeah, they certainly do. But I told Taylor after that game, you put 4 on Davienne in regulation, you better find a way to win the game because she's not going to allow that very often. She's, Team Canada's national team goalie. She's a starter. She's incredible at net. She robbed Taylor.
Oh, so we beat her before.
We did. We beat her we beat her for
Milan.
The goal. That's right. We did beat her for the goal.
Oh, geez. Think the gold matters a little?
Definitely does.
Okay. Again, why'd they pick a 2-time champion?
Well, that's a great question. I think they have a lot of confidence in this goalie, but Minnesota
gave up 4 yesterday, though.
Yeah, she did.
Saturday.
Yeah, she did.
Tempers flared at the end of the second period.
Yeah.
And we had a player ejected. Is it Britta Curl Saleme?
That's right.
Salome or Saleme?
Saleme.
Yeah. What the heck happened there? We had a player ejected in the PWHL. It's controversial.
Yeah, it was a physical game. I think that's another reason why Montreal picked the Frost, because they're confident in their physicality. They have some skill in the top line with Laura Stacey and Marie-Philippe Poulin, but one of the, kind of the second, third, fourth line, they're really grinder type of players, and they're really physical across the board. And Britta had a play where she got kind of hit in the middle of the ice, and there was no call. The play went on, and about 5 seconds later, she decided that she was going to go put somebody in the boards and got a little high in the head. So she got a 5 in a game and unfortunately won't be playing tomorrow night as well. She's suspended for the game tomorrow night, but they'll get her back for Game 3 back at Grand Casino Arena.
I got a good nugget for you. And by the way, best of luck to the Frost and Pete Samardzija. And it's doing Vox in the Box over there at TRIA, and then the Frost practice after the Wild.
Yeah.
So every time I'm leaving, I'll see Taylor and I'll see Zumwinkle, Maddie Rooney, and the whole bit. But Pete Samardzija, I think, was with the St. Paul Vulcans a long time ago. He was a goaltender.
Wow.
He's head coach, right?
No, the head coach of Taylor's team?
Yeah. No, he's not head coach,
not head
but
coach.
he's
I think
a
he's
coach.
on staff. Yeah,
right. So, like, I see Pete there, and, like, that's cool and everything. Old school, best school. So, best of luck to all of them moving forward, man. Yeah. It's just a very happy, confident. It's just a cool team, man. It is. It's a cool bunch every time I see them.
A lot of Minnesota girls too, so that they have a lot of commonalities, and I think they're all competitors, man. They are about as competitive as a group as I've ever been around.
So Nordo brought this up earlier, and we're League Freak raised, and you played Division I basketball, so we're all into the association. Don't add us, don't judge us. The Sixers-Knicks series.
Let's go.
It's so cool. Mm-hmm. I mean, if past performances are accurate, at least from my recollection, I don't think Cat wants anything to do with Joel Embiid, but Karl Anthony Towns is having a really good postseason. How about this little nugget for you, my brother? OG Anunoby has never played better in his life, okay? OG Anunoby, in the most recent series against the Atlanta Hawks, he turned it over 2 times in a team-high 214 minutes against the Hawks. He's scoring, he's stealing, he's rebounding, and the Sixers ain't great with wings. Brunson had some big games against them. You can hide him on defense, which they're going to have to do because I don't think he wants anything to do with Maxey or Edgecombe. Mm-hmm. But OG Anunoby, man, emphasis on the OG.
Yeah.
He's OG and he's coming through.
Well, how about the efficiency too? 11 for 14 from the field, 4 for 6 from 3, and he was a plus 42. And I know that game got lopsided really quick early in that game, but I think you're exactly right. And that's a perfect guy to highlight, right? You're going to have Cat, you're going to have Brunson, you're even going to have some other guys that are consistently there with Josh Hart and Mikal Bridges, but OG is one of those kind of Swiss Army knives, and he proved it in the last series that he's very capable, and he's going to get a good matchup. Like, this Philly team is going to throw a lot at you with VJ Edgecombe.
They're balling.
Oh yeah, and VJ Edgecombe is as good as they come from the rookies. So
and Kelly Oubre is afraid of nobody. He ain't the greatest player in the world, but he'll give you a good 25. And my man and Quentin Grimes, I mean, those guys are afraid of nobody.
Yeah, and Tyrese Maxey is as skilled with the ball in his hands as they come. And don't forget about Paul George either. He's right there. Yeah, he's right there as well. So OG's going to have his hands full defending all those type of wings and guards. This is going to be a heck of a series. I'm excited to watch a lot of hoops tonight.
I think lastly, Spurs and Wolves and Spurs, 8:30 KFAN. What time are you on the radio for the pre to the pre?
Yeah, we're doing the pre to the pre at 7 tonight. 7 to 8. I'll be hanging out. Got a couple special guests. So yeah, tune in.
Are you hosting?
I'm hosting.
Where's
tonight.
Max?
Yeah, Max is on the mend. Our brother's on the mend.
I saw him at KFAN last week.
He's around. He's getting it back. He's getting it back. He's on the mend. Our prayers are out for Max. So I need my brother back. So let's win another series so we can get us back in the studio and howling with the homies.
So I'm not going to grandstand and be like, Wolves win this series. All right. It's like I was convinced into the Denver series they would win it. They had the better players. Didn't exactly work out the way I thought it would, but nevertheless they got the money. I can't say that about this series with the overall nature of the Spurs. However, I'll close with this.
Yeah.
Finchy, Micah Nori, Pablo Prigioni, Elston Turner. This is a smart, high-end coaching staff that has been to the Western Conference Finals 2 consecutive years. Now, Mitch Johnson's, it's a lot of this is new to him as a head coach. Sean Sweeney is his assistant. I'm telling you, Sean's an elite basketball mind and will be a head coach in the NBA. But is there anything with the experience of the coaching staff that can tilt things a little bit the way of Minnesota?
Yeah, I think there is. And
because Finchy did a little bit of a job on Adelman at the end of the series.
He certainly did. But I'm glad you mentioned the whole staff, too. Like Pablo's as good as they come. Mike Nori's going to be a head coach one day. Like, these are guys that not only have been around the league for a long time, but they support everything Chris Finch does, and they really move as one unit. So I think that does give you the edge. And then you mix that in with getting Ayo Dosunmu back and healthy, and hopefully Anthony Edwards, if he doesn't play tonight, he's playing very soon. So there's a lot of really good traction for this Wolves team, and it's going to be tough. We're going to learn a lot tonight about San Antonio. The fans down there are rowdy. It's going to be a great environment. It's going to be tough to beat them 4 times, but if there's a coaching staff that needs to show up, it's this coaching staff, and they have the ability to do so. So I think that could be really, the difference maker throughout this series.
Appreciate you, brother.
Love you, man.
I love you too. Parker Fox at Parker Fox 24. His segments weekly 9 to noon provided by Continental Diamond in St. Louis Park. Here comes that cash thing.
The Fan, along with BigDeck.com, want to give you a shot at some bonus bucks, National Cash Contest style. This hour's keyword is win. You could win if you enter the keyword win in at KFAN.com right now. The keyword is win, the website, KFAN.com.
Chatted with Timberwolves head coach Chris Finch to start the radio show, segment number 2, and began with San Antonio, the Riverwalk. I hear it can be quite enchanting this time of the year.
Yeah, I do enjoy it. It's nice little walk last night after dinner. It was not too crowded down here, so that was nice. Really cool feature of the city, but we're not here to be tourists. We're here on a business trip. So
yes, sir. What do you need to see from Anthony for him to play in either of the next 2 games?
Yeah, I think what we need to see first is how he responds to the work that he's been putting in. I think it's a day-by-day thing. How do you feel when you get up? How do you feel after your treatment? Where do you feel like you are, percentage of who you normally are? That's one. And then just, take a quick look on, what does he look like when he's out there? Is he favoring anything? Is his explosion still there? Is he able to, have confidence in all the things that you do normally? And to what level does that look like?
Is Anthony considered a quick healer by physiological nature?
I mean, he is wouldn't pretend to be a doctor or understand what's going on, but he does heal fast. He has always kind of been a quick healer. He's really good about his work. Super athletic, as we know. He's got unbelievable, just natural strength. All that stuff, I believe, is just kind of hardwired into him, which is makes him kind of robust, if you will.
One of the many things we appreciate and love about Wolves head coach Chris Finch is that he's negative on load management. So he plays his guys during the season and they play hard. Here's the question. What's the balance between players begging to go and your discernment and intel involving said player permitting them to go?
Yeah. So this is really not a decision that's made by the head coach anymore in the league. Training staffs are very broad and generally have leadership, doctors, performance directors, all these types of things. And it's really a culminative thing. How does the player feel? A lot of times the player will lead the discussion based on how he feels. He knows his body better than anybody else. And then you factor in all the testing, all the metrics that go into the testing, and everything, gets kind of debated about whether you feel like he's ready or not. So, really what the coach has to decide is, if there's a minutes restriction or something like that, how to best employ him. And if that's going to, kind of meet the return to play protocols.
So long story longer, what you're getting at here, Coach, is Dr. Sheldon Burns of Edina Family Physicians has the final call on Anthony tonight.
Well, I mean, Dr. Burns is more of our family doctor, but we have a whole team of ortho people. Anthony has his own, second opinion doctors that are obviously involved in the decisions too. Mm-hmm. Everybody's looking at the test results of things, the further imaging or anything that's required, as well as just the eye test. What does he look like? So it's, and then like I said, most of it just comes down to how the player feels. He doesn't lead the discussion by any means, but he certainly is one of the most important factors into it.
Well, Sheldon's the best. I mean, he's been a friend of mine for a quarter century, and while all people are wound up over Anthony's knees, he's like, "Hey, Chris, so how are things?"
He is the best. We love Dr. Burns.
The Spurs, they have nice guards, very nice guards. How do they use Castle, Vassell, and the speedy veteran De'Aaron Fox, plus the rookie Dylan Harper? That guy ain't afraid to shoot.
Yeah, well, Harper, Fox, and Castle in particular, they excel in early attacks, so you come down, not necessarily a classic fast break situation, but early in the offense, they punch the gap. They try to get to the heart of your defense, really without running any plays or structures or set. They just get the good spacing, play kind of power basketball, if you will, and then they start their drive and kick game. And that's why they are able to lead the league in corner 3-point shots generated. It's largely due to those guys being able to get to the heart of your defense and zing it out to the corner.
So, Keldon Johnson has some ham and egg to him. Not saying he's a bad player, and he's given the Wolves problems before, but with Keldon and Champagny, you get these guys penetrating, then all of a sudden those guys are in the corner just waiting to shoot threes, right?
Absolutely. And, Keldon Johnson's, he's had an outstanding season, 6th man of the year. We know he has given us problems. He's a physical downhill guy. He turns corners. He puts his shoulder on you. Their guards are all pretty physical. They like to hit first when they're going to the hoop. So, winning that battle is important. But, Keldon's really rounded out into a very good shooter. Don't think you would have said that about him early in his career, but right. Now coming off the bench, he can do both. And everybody's 3-point shooting, I think, has gotten better through their system through the season, which is why they're such a dangerous team.
Chris Finch, head coach of the Minnesota Timberwolves, tonight, 7:00, Wolves and Spurs, game 1 of that series, and it's on KFAN. This is courtesy of Second Harvest Heartland, 2harvest.org. Chris is on the board for Second Harvest Heartland, and also thank you, Prize Picks. Wemby had 13 blocks his last 2 games. I mean, that's just unheard of, isn't it? And I know you're a fan of the guy's game, but he's a handful, isn't he?
No doubt. I mean, he just changes the geometry of the floor, really on both ends. I mean, just with his size and his skills, and doing things that we haven't really seen consistently done night in, night out. And he goes after everything. He's fearless. That's really what I like about him when I watch him play. He's kind of, attacks everything and multiple effort guy, and is willing to play through all the physicality. Of course, he's got incredible timing. Like he's going to win a lot of battles at the rim. That makes perfect sense when you look at him. But where he really, really impacts you is just kind of almost completely shuts down the mid range, because he can lurk back, and then when he unfolds, he gets a lot of shots. He blocks a lot of mid range jumpers.
Well, he's a Frenchman, like Rudy Gobert, so I don't know. Maybe he grew up outside of Chantilly as a Rudy Gobert fan, and he's just going to be overwhelmed by Rudy's greatness, and it'll throw him off a little bit. What do you think of that?
Well, there's always that. It is kind of a neat aspect to this series, though, is their friendship and their mentorship, if you will.
How's Ayo feeling, and how close to 100% does the calf need to be for him to contribute?
Yeah, I mean, we're going to check that out this morning. He's looked pretty good. He's been involved in all the preparation, albeit it hasn't been a lot of live stuff. So we're just going to see how he feels today, but he's getting there. There's no doubt about that.
Good. One of my favorites. Chris, so generally speaking, how do the Spurs want to play? Is it are they racehorse basketball, or slow and meticulous and calculated?
No, they're pretty fast up and down the floor. Denver played fast. They really like to, use Jokic as a fast break starter, whether he was pushing it up fast and creating or throwing a lot of long passes. Of course, these guys use their guards more. They like to open up the floor. We just talked about a lot of early attacks to start their drive and kick game. They got a ton of really good shooting. Out that they have the ability to put a lot of shooting out there on the floor. They put you in rotations, so that's going to be a big change from last series to this series. Is last series we wasn't really a rotation game; it was like a 2-man game, and then providing support to that 2-man game. This is when the ball gets to the heart of the defense, you're going to be forced to be in rotation, and how well we can be on point with those assignments is going to be key to our defense.
Well, like comparing from the last series, these Spurs, they probably don't run out of gas like the Nuggets and require oxygen tanks just to finish games. In what ways are the Spurs a balanced bunch? Like how deep are they?
Yeah, they're first of all, they're able to play the exact same system no matter who's on the floor. I think that really helps you. You don't, like in the last series, maybe when Jokic goes off the floor, things have to change significantly. And when that happens, you got to be really good at several different styles of basketball. Spurs are able to kind of maintain their identity regardless of who's on the floor. Luke Cornett is an outstanding, one of the most underrated backup bigs in the league. His ability to protect the rim and do a lot of things that Wemby can do defensively. And obviously offensively, they don't put the ball in his hands in the same way, but he's still kind of at the center of a lot of what they do. The speed at which they play at doesn't change when they go to their bench. So they got a lot of really good pieces, guys who star in their role. They bring a potency off the bench that with Johnson in particular and the experience of Harrison Barnes, that Denver wasn't able to do. So, a lot of differences there.
Wow, so Cornette with Wemby, like when you and I were kids watching basketball, it's kind of like he's Billy Paltz to Mark Olberding, right?
Yeah, something like that.
2 to go. Do bigs like Wemby get bugged when little guys are swatting at them and bugging them? And I ask because there were some moments in that Blazer series, and I'm sure you've seen this, where the guy you used to coach, Drew Holiday, he was checking the 7'4" Frenchman and actually got under his skin.
Yeah, I think, that's one thing you can do is, if you have a strong physical guard, if you have the luxury of having an elite defender who, with Drew, will take the challenge of anybody, you're able to, to kind of bother a guy when he's that tall and has a high dribble. I think it's certainly one option, but you have to also guard him with a lot of different types of guys. I think because they put him in a lot of different situations on the floor. So, all
right, last one. How much do you pull from the 3 regular season games you guys played, or truly do those not matter because so much has changed since you last met 3.5 months ago?
Well, I think they matter because it gives you some sort of frame of reference of things that they're trying to do, and systemically they are largely the same. They've made a few tweaks to their rotation, their starting lineup, and guys are playing different shifts, if you will. So I think that's always important in the playoffs.
All right, my man, have fun. Get some quality Tex-Mex today. Good luck with the injured guys, and we'll chat soon. Okay.
All right, thanks, PA. Take care.
Finchy. And we howl 7 o'clock tonight for the pregame, the pre to the pre on KFAN.
Welcome back. Final segment, 9 to noon. Post-game, though. And for a Monday show, 15 goals, the chaos that everything was, while trying to be pumped about Game 1, Wolves and Spurs tonight. A balance of emotions. But you just heard a replay there. Chris Finch, head coach of the Wolves, very, very excited. 8:30-ish tip-off, probably closer to 8:40 after
looking to tighten down against Wemby.
Knicks and Sixers. Bruce Boudreau, former Wild coach, joined us as we were recapping yesterday's oddball L in Denver. And here he was after PA asked him, like, hey, Wally, Volstead, or any goaltender that gives up the number of goals that Volstead did last night, like, how do they bounce back?
Well, in my experience and watching, whether it's this year's playoffs or any playoffs, the second game, they're so much better. So much better. Just take the series of Dallas. I mean, Dallas loses 6-1 in the first game, and you're going, oh, my goodness, what happens in the next game? They come back and play a great defensive game to win the game.
Right.
And you can look at almost all the playoff rounds where a team gets beaten big in Game 1 or allows a lot of goals in Game 1. They shut it down completely in Game 2. I mean, I can look at the Boston series. I can look at the Anaheim series. Everything. When you have a bad Game 1, I can count on the next game probably being a 3-2 or 2-1 game. Hopefully for Minnesota, but that's going to be the score, I think, in the end.
Bruce Boudreau earlier today, awesome conversation and catch up with him, TV NHL analysis, and a little insight into our favorite team. Pat Micheletti joined during the 10 for more Wild conversation, and I kind of posed the question, last night's game was so awful. Goaltenders, not their best, but what was in front of them, moments of massive mistakes, chaos, racehorse hockey, however you want to put it. Can coaches just throw this out?
Yeah, I think to a certain degree, Nordo. But they're, they obviously, they'll get back to the basics of, okay, what does Colorado do through the neutral zone? How often are they, adding their defensemen to the rush? And, what side of the ice do they like to get the puck to? Things of that nature. How's their forechecking? They'll get back to the realities of how the game is played in this era. And, so they'll look at that. As far as the other stuff, they'll probably throw it out because these guys all know that, okay, I really can't be doing this in this certain situation. And so they will, they'll remind them and they'll put it in their heads and they'll get back to playing the way that this game is played in this era.
Well, in some ways, it couldn't be worse than what you watched last night in Denver. Game 2 tomorrow, 7-ish puck drop right here on your home for Wild Hockey, the Fan. And then just final news with Parker Fox in studio. Podcastable, by the way, some great opinions into Game 1 tonight. But the news from Shams kind of taking over that conversation, a post on X about 40 minutes ago. Minnesota's Anthony Edwards was a significant participant. What does significant mean? Maybe we'll find out later today. But he was a significant participant in Wolves shoot-around this morning. Wants to return in Game 1 against San Antonio. Sources tell ESPN. Edwards is pushing to play, per Shams. But he and the team's medical staff will make a decision later today. So something to look forward to this afternoon. A little Shams bomb, a preview, a Shams preview bomb to an eventual Shams bomb in advance of Game 1. Meanwhile, I'm like, Ayo's going to play, though, tonight, right? Like, can we get an update on Ayo? I kind of want to know about both those guys, PA.
Yeah, I didn't like Finch's tone when he said, well, we should know more about that this morning.
Yeah.
And just didn't like the tone. I hope Ayo plays. If he doesn't play and Anthony doesn't play, there's one thing that's certain for all of us. It's time to batten up the hatches.
I always love that one.
Got to batten up the hatches and make sure you have all boxes checked, I's dotted, and T's crossed against the San Antonio Spurs. 7 o'clock pregame to the Wolves pregame. And then somewhere around 8:30, I believe it's an NBC game, but of course KFAN. Wolves and San Antonio Spurs, and 9 to noon will be on the scene tomorrow at 9 a.m. to recap, maybe montage, and take some talkbacks. Thank you for listening. Thank you, Nordo, and may God bless you and all of your families, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for listening to 9 to noon, if and or when you do, and I'm Paul Allen. Dan Cole, the Common Man, and the program is next on KFAN. Bye-bye.
We love you, we got 'em.
9 to noon.
Good time.
If it's good news or money, leave a message.
Podcast today's Paul Allen Show or listen back to previous show and interviews by going to the iHeartRadio app or KFAN.com.